These 5 Buddhist truths will make you feel left behind by age. Time is a created thing. To say, "I don't have time," is like saying, "I don't want to." Lao Tzu. Too often, we measure our worth by the ticking of a clock, believing that age defines our value or limits our potential. But the truth is, age is not a prison. It's a perspective, and Buddhism offers timeless wisdom to free us from this illusion. Today, on Dharma Pulse, I invite you to explore 5 profound Buddhist truths that can transform the way you see aging, self-worth, and happiness. As you listen, I encourage you to ask yourself, what does age really mean to me? And how might these truths shift the way I live today? Share your reflections in the comments below, because your story may be the key that inspires someone else's awakening. 1. You will be forgotten, and that's okay. Everything is impermanent, including memory and legacy. And to see this clearly is to step out of the illusions that bind us. Time flows forward without asking for permission, erasing names, faces, and histories until even the proudest monuments crumble into dust. Yet Buddhism teaches that this is not a cause for despair, but a door to liberation, because clinging to permanence is the root of suffering, while acceptance of impermanence allows the heart to rest in truth. Our true impact is never measured by how long our name lingers in the memory of others, but by the energy we pour into each moment. A word of compassion offered to someone lost in darkness. An act of kindness given without the weight of expectation. A life lived in mindfulness and presence. These are the treasures that endure. They ripple outward into the world, touching lives we may never meet, continuing to exist long after the self has dissolved. Just as the river does not insist on being remembered, but nourishes the land with its flow, so too it is the unseen movement of our actions that carries real power. In the currents of modern life, legacy is often mistaken for recognition, wealth, or monuments of achievement. But these are fragile imprints carved in sand. What truly lasts is the frequency of the vibration at which you live. Are you caught in fear, clinging to control, or are you living in the vibration of generosity, compassion, and peace? When your inner frequency rises, every gesture becomes aligned with a higher truth. Every thought shapes not only your own mind, but also the consciousness of those around you. Psychology calls this neuroplasticity, energy science calls it vibration, and Buddhism calls it the transformation of mind. To live with mindfulness is to train yourself to see that suffering is not born from change itself, but from resistance to change. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you realize how much energy is wasted in the futile attempt to preserve what cannot be held. In those moments of awareness, you free yourself from the struggle, and in freeing yourself, you free others. To practice kindness daily, even in the smallest of ways, is to infuse the field of life with ripples of healing. You may never know where those ripples reach, but they will echo, just as a bell continues to vibrate long after the strike. To be forgotten is not failure, it is freedom. The self was never meant to be carved in stone, but to dissolve back into the vastness of being. The question is not whether the world will remember your name, but whether you have lived in alignment with compassion, truth, and mindfulness. If you have, then even when your identity disappears, the fragrance of your actions will remain, subtle yet unerasable, woven into the fabric of life itself. Have you ever thought about the fact that one day you will be forgotten, and yet life still carries on? If this idea gives you peace, share your reflections in the comments so others can learn from you. If you've never considered it before, simply write, "I will reflect," and let's walk this path of wisdom together. 2. Your body will weaken. Befriend it instead of resisting. Your body will weaken. That is the law of life. But weakness is not betrayal. It is transformation. The problem is never the passage of time, but our desperate refusal to accept it. Our clinging to youth as if it were a permanent home, when in truth, it was always just a temporary stop along the road. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that suffering arises not from aging itself, but from resistance, from the illusion that beauty, strength, and vitality could last forever. You look into the mirror and see lines etched across your skin, and you call them flaws, forgetting they are the very calligraphy of your lived experience. Every wrinkle is a verse written by time, every scar a reminder of survival, every ache proof that you are still here, still alive. Yet instead of gratitude, most people respond with hostility. They curse the very body that has carried them through decades of breath, laughter, heartbreak, and healing, as though a lifelong companion deserves abandonment the moment it slows its pace. But tell me, would you despise an old friend simply because he no longer runs as fast as he once did? Why then do we despise our bodies for doing exactly what nature designed them to do? We live in a culture that worships youth like a god, pouring billions into creams, surgeries, and rituals meant to hold back the tide of time. A man I once heard of spent nearly his entire savings chasing cosmetic procedures. Each operation promised renewal. Yet when the swelling faded and the scars remained, he discovered the same gnawing fear staring back at him in the mirror. He had not defeated aging. He had only deepened his suffering. The real betrayal was never in his flesh, but in his refusal to accept its truth. Isn't it strange that we turn to meditation to quiet our restless minds, yet forget we can use meditation to reconcile with our bodies? To sit in silence and thank your heart for its tireless beating, your lungs for the countless breaths they have gifted you, your legs for carrying you through the landscapes of your life. This is a practice as holy as any prayer. Gratitude is not weakness. It is strength, and it is the only medicine against the bitterness of time. When you change your perspective, fragility ceases to be shameful. A bent back can become the posture of wisdom. Shaking hands can become instruments of compassion. A slower step can teach patience to the hurried world around you. Ask yourself, would you really choose endless youth without depth over aging that delivers insight, compassion, and peace? Buddhist wisdom reveals that fragility itself holds a hidden power. It invites us to soften, to release our pride, and to step into a humility that can no longer be touched by vanity. The body in decline does not lose its purpose. It simply offers a different kind of service, one that speaks not through strength, but through presence, calm, and grace. Think of elders who, though frail, radiate a serenity and clarity that younger people chase but rarely find. Isn't that proof that aging is not the end, but a gateway into another form of strength? So what if the doorway to freedom is not in fighting your body, but in befriending it? What if every time you choose to honor your aching bones, your tired eyes, your fragile skin, you are practicing one of the deepest forms of meditation? Wouldn't your days feel lighter if instead of cursing time you walked beside it like an old companion? Your body is not your prison. It is your vehicle. It will wear down, yes, but the journey it has carried you through is what makes life sacred. The lesson is simple. Stop resisting what is inevitable and start honoring what still remains. Treat your body with kindness. Nourish it. Listen to its whispers and thank it for the story it continues to write. Aging is not your downfall. It is your greatest teacher. A reminder that peace comes not from clinging to youth, but from learning to walk hand in hand with time, until even fragility becomes a source of strength. 3. You can't keep everyone's relationships change naturally. You can't keep everyone, because life itself is a river that never stops moving, carrying people in and out of your story with the tides of impermanence. Relationships are not failures when they end. They are seasons, each with its own gifts, its own lessons, its own fragrance that lingers even after the petals fall. To cling to what has already passed is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grasp, the quicker it slips away. Love was never meant to be ownership. It is appreciation, a sacred bow before the beauty of a shared moment, knowing that its power lies in its transience. Rumi once wrote, "Try not to resist life's changes, for change is the only constant, and within this wisdom is the seed of freedom. For it reminds us that departures are not rejections, but redirections, guiding us toward new connections that resonate with who we are becoming. When a friend drifts into silence or a lover grows into someone unrecognizable, the wound you feel is not abandonment, but the ache of transformation, a call to honor what was while opening to what is. Healing begins the moment you release the illusion of permanence and see every person as both a mirror and a teacher. Imagine a vast garden where blossoms bloom, fade, and return in different forms. Do you mourn the fallen flower, or do you carry gratitude for its fragrance that once filled the air? In the same way, every goodbye is not the end, but the echo of energy exchanged, a vibration that continues to shape you long after the form has disappeared. The Buddha taught that suffering is born from resistance, from fighting against the natural current of impermanence. So why imprison yourself in grief when you could stand in awe of the flow? Relationships are energy, never static, always transforming. And when you release the need to keep them frozen in time, you begin to see their true purpose, to awaken you, to expand your capacity for compassion, to teach you how to love without clinging. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "To love without knowing how to love wounds the person we love, and real love is learning to hold gently, to honor deeply, and to let go gracefully when the moment calls." So ask yourself, who are you still trying to keep as they once were? And what freedom might arise if you bless them for who they are now? Every ending is a doorway. Every departure, a spiritual test inviting you to practice trust, appreciation, and release. The truth is simple, yet profound people come and go. But love itself is never lost. It only changes form, flowing through memory, presence, and the infinite possibilities ahead. To understand this is to step into the essence of spirituality, where healing is found not in clinging to what fades, but in opening your heart to the endless dance of change, where nothing real can ever be taken away, only transformed. If this truth about changing relationships resonates with you, share your voice below. Comment I accept the flow of change. To remind yourself that letting go is also a form of love. 4. You no longer look young, but that is a gift. Beauty shifts with time. What once was smooth skin and youthful glow slowly turns into wrinkles and silver strands. But these are not signs of loss. They are the quiet testimony of resilience and the crown of wisdom. Every line on the face is a river carved by experience, each shade of gray a reminder of endurance. Buddhism teaches us that impermanence is not a curse, but the very truth of existence. And through mindfulness, we can see that the fading of youth is in fact the unveiling of a deeper kind of beauty. Real beauty does not cling to the surface. It radiates from presence, dignity, and kindness. It is the courage to live authentically in a world of masks, to let one's inner world shine through without fear. Such beauty is not fragile, but enduring, because it is rooted in compassion and in the authenticity of the awakened self. Aging is not decline, but transformation. Just as the caterpillar does not mourn the loss of its old form when becoming a butterfly, we too must not grieve the passing of youth. To live at a higher frequency is to understand that every stage of life carries its own vibration, and that maturity resonates with a depth that youth cannot reach. Psychology shows us that individuation, the journey toward wholeness, often emerges only after hardship, and time have refined the soul, like gold tested in fire. Through age, energy vibration grows steadier, allowing love without illusion, clarity without harsh judgment, and action without desperate clinging. This is the radiance of an awakened soul, not the fleeting brightness of youth, but the lasting glow of inner truth. In a modern society that glorifies the young and hides the old, choosing to embrace aging is an act of freedom. When we understand impermanence, we stop chasing what cannot be kept, and the fear of time dissolves. The true prison was never age itself, but our attachment to the illusion of permanence. With mindfulness, we learn to live lighter, to embody authenticity rather than illusion, to find beauty not in resistance, but in surrender. As Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, because you are alive, everything is possible. To age consciously is to discover that beauty is not measured by the skin, but by the soul's radiance, not in how little we change, but in how deeply we awaken. Aging becomes a flowering, not a fading, the blossoming of presence, the quiet dignity of wisdom, the authenticity of one who no longer needs to prove. The most luminous people are not those untouched by time, but those who have let time carve them open to compassion. Wrinkles and gray hair are not signs that life has taken from you. They are proof that life has moved through you and left behind something greater. This is the gift of age. Transformation into deeper radiance. The arrival into a beauty that no mirror can capture, but every soul can feel. 5. You will face more loss, but love never dies. You will face more loss, but love never dies. With age comes the quiet sorrow of saying goodbye to those we once believed would always be here, and grief becomes an inseparable part of the human journey. Yet Buddhist wisdom reminds us that grief is not a wound to be closed, but a path to be walked, for it teaches impermanence and reveals the fragile beauty of everything we hold dear. When someone you love leaves this world, their body may be gone, but their presence lingers in the subtlest ways, in the way you laugh, in the way you choose kindness, in the way you pause to remember. Love does not vanish with death. It transforms into the energy that continues to move through you, shaping your actions, softening your heart, and carrying their essence forward in 1,000 unseen ways. Think of the person who loses a grandmother who always taught compassion. At first, the grief feels unbearable, like the ground itself has given way. Yet as time passes, that same person offers kindness to a stranger and feels her voice alive within the act. In that moment, she is not gone. She is living through them. This is not sentimentality, but the truth of how love endures. Meditation can help you see this clearly by sitting with grief instead of fleeing it. You discover a space where absence and presence meet, where the pain of loss and the warmth of love coexist without contradiction. It is here that you realize moving on is not forgetting. It is carrying love as a living fire within you. Society often tells us to be strong by letting go, to close the chapter quickly and move forward. But strength in Buddhist wisdom is different. True strength lies in remembrance, in honoring those who shaped us by embodying the lessons they gave us. To hold on does not mean to cling to what cannot return, but to allow the essence of love to guide our lives. The Buddha's teaching that, in the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you, is not a command to abandon memory, but an invitation to transform it into wisdom. The paradox is that by accepting impermanence, you begin to touch eternity. Each goodbye becomes a doorway, each loss a reminder that what truly matters cannot be destroyed. When you practice meditation with this awareness, grief no longer feels like a chain, but a teacher whispering that love is greater than time. The loved ones you mourn continue through you in the choices you make, the compassion you show, the patience you learn. Every act of kindness done in their memory proves that death does not silence love. It refines it. So when age places loss in your path, ask yourself not only what you have lost, but what you are still carrying forward. Are you weighed down by absence, or are you carrying the flame of love that can light the way for yourself and others? To age with wisdom is to understand that while life will take much from you, it also reveals that nothing truly loved is ever wasted. Love never dies because it was never bound by time in the first place. It is the one treasure you can carry beyond every season of change, the one presence that continues to live wherever your heart dares to remember. Leave a like and subscribe to Spiritual Atom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss transformative wisdom like this. Comment below, "Love never dies within me," if you're ready to embrace loss with compassion and carry love as your eternal strength. As we've explored, the 5 Buddhist truths remind us that age is not a prison, but a perspective, and that true happiness comes from acceptance, mindfulness, compassion, and the courage to live fully in the present. When you carry these principles into your daily life, you'll discover that every stage of life is an opportunity for growth and freedom. What do you think about how these truths have shifted the way you see your own journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dharma Pulse so together we can continue walking the path of wisdom and transformation.